For those of you who have seen the previous video of me wearing exactly the same clothes, I haven't made the effort to dress in the same things and come to the same place on a different day. I'm just recording this video afterwards because I can. I'm all in favour of efficiency. In the previous video I was intending or thinking about a particular topic. I had a topic in mind, and as you can tell if you watched it, that's not how it went, but seldom does it, and that's okay. But there is one thing I do want to draw awareness to for everybody who is watching, every single one of you, wherever you happen to be in your life, and that is the subject of self-acceptance. And it's very close to my heart. It's the primary focus of all of my work. It's the primary focus of this channel. And I would go so far as to say that if the Creator or God or the universe put me here for a purpose, it's to learn how to be more accepting of myself and others. And I can list off the many ways that I've lived on the 39 years I've been here that I haven't been doing that. But I shan't do that. So I'm sure you can think of them. And the amount of suffering I have created for myself and others in the process. And being in acceptance of yourself, being in acceptance of life, it doesn't mean that you don't seek to make changes, right? It doesn't mean that you just go, okay, everything is perfect, I'm not going to change anything, because it just doesn't work that way. That's a misunderstanding. Everything has to change. It's the nature of life. Self-acceptance is the allowance of change. Recognizing that change is inevitable, and that sometimes it may not be the change that we desire or seek, but it's happened, right? It's happened. Or it's happening in front of us. And being accepting of oneself means living without a voice, or with less of a voice, that says, you are not enough. You are unlovable. This is the best you can hope for. You are defective or broken or dysfunctional in some way. Or life is defective or broken or dysfunctional in some way. People are whatever you think people are. I perceive the entirety of the world's problems stem from a lack of acceptance of self. And a lack of acceptance of self has to be projected out into the world. It has to. If you accept who you are in this moment, why would you find fault with something else? It doesn't make sense. So, it may not be a particularly sexy or glamorous topic, but I can't think of one thing that's made a bigger difference to my life. All the courses, all the books, all the meditation, all the desperate attempts to change the circumstances and the people around me, and yeah, I've done that, been there. Buying things and giving them up, trying things and letting them go, convincing people that I'm the right one for them, and then not doing good stuff, trying to convince employers that I'm the right person for their job, and then realising I hate the job, all that stuff. Yeah, I've been through all of that. But it all comes from this lack of acceptance of me. Oh, sorry, that was a microphone. So how do we accept ourselves? I don't know if I have a direct answer to that question. Sorry to disappoint you. But because acceptance isn't something that you can do. It's a state of being, it's an openness. It's a non-resistance to things arising. It's recognizing that our nature as humans is not to suffer. But we are not put here to experience suffering. We do, but it's not our nature. And I use the analogy of water. Water can be moved, it can be boiled, it can be frozen, it can be high places, it can be in low places. But water will always find a level. And when water is not moved by some external force, a current or a body of some description, it's naturally still. And the human mind is the same. But the mind is constantly in a state of movement because there is this underlying assumption that there is somewhere to get to that is better than the moment we're currently in. There is something we have to do to be more than we are. And to put that another way, it's based on the assumption that we are not enough in this moment. And without extending too far into the spiritual or the philosophical, a moment, there is only ever a moment. The future and past are imagined. They exist in the mind. The moment is the reality that we live in right now. It's the experience we're having right this second. The easiest way to connect to the moment is through the breath, because you can't breathe in the past or in the future. You can only breathe now. But I think about my own journey of acceptance and how for so much of my life I've been living in opposition to everything and everyone around me, including the one in here. And I have been extremely successful at changing the one in here, but there are still moments when it's coming up with all sorts of crap. It doesn't feel so good. The thing that really makes the difference is awareness. And I've mentioned before, awareness is the first step to change. Awareness is focus, concentration, noticing. And it's not like the world that we live in out here, this world, where we can say, I don't like that tree, I'm going to cut it down. I don't like this path, I'm going to paint it a different colour. I don't like the sky, I'm going to look at the floor. It's unseen, so the changes do sometimes require persistent practice and patience to materialise into something externally. And that's why many of us never succeed, because we're impatient. We want the response and we want the result instantly. And I guarantee you, if you watch this video, if you go stop watching this video now and you type in your YouTube search bar, how to find peace instantly, there'll be a million videos. How to accept yourself in this very moment, there'll be a million videos. And there's truth in some of them, because the only moment you can accept yourself is this one, not the last one or the next one. It's this moment, because this moment is all we have. But there's no one-size-fits-all solution. You have to... I say you have to. I don't mean this in a forceful way, but you have to realise that if you're here for 80 years, or 90 years, or even longer, that's an infinite number of moments. It's an infinite number of invitations for you to accept yourself. And sometimes you'll be more successful than others. And often it's easier when there is an absence of distraction, when we're in a familiar and safe environment, when we are not being pulled by the needs or the wants of others, when we are relaxed and undistracted. In those moments, it's easier to accept yourself. And if you have to begin there, in the safety and the comfort of a familiar environment, do so. Make that your practice. And just like athletes who train in the gym, for however long they train, whatever their sport happens to be, they're not training in competition, they're training for competition. But when the competition comes, they're prepared for it. And similarly, if you become more familiar with acceptance, more understanding of acceptance, in the moments when there's less on it, then in the moments when you are less prepared for it, you're able to respond with much greater resolve and much greater stability and much greater understanding than you would be otherwise. And I would be willing to bet that you're here watching this because you want to accept yourself more, because you want to accept the things which are going on in your life more, or the things which have happened in your life more. And that perhaps intuitively you know that by accepting those things you'll be able to create something better. Because the second we try and create from a state of resistance or denial or lack or pain or fear, what we're doing is we're feeding the energy of fear into the thing we're trying to create. We're feeding the energy of pain into the thing we're trying to create. We're feeding the energy of lack into the thing that we're trying to create. And this is why it doesn't work for most people. Acceptance is always the first step. And if you do any amount of spiritual work, any amount of work by someone like Joe Dispenza or Jose Silva or Esther Hicks or any of the law of attraction people, all of them say, or Neville Goddard, any of those people, all of them say something to the effect of, you have to connect to something greater than yourself. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. What that means is, see past this. It doesn't have to mean shutting it up completely, like for some of us it's not immediately possible. It's to recognize that it's happening and not pay attention to it. Just like the child in the supermarket screaming on the floor, unless it's your child, in which case it's slightly different. You recognize it's there and you just walk on. You don't give it your attention, you don't feed it. And the more you are able to do that, the easier it becomes for you, first of all, to recognize that state when it arises, that state of peaceful acceptance. And then, it becomes easier for you to create new things from that state. And it will also start to flow into your life in many other ways, which will absolutely benefit you. Absolutely. And you will also become more acutely aware of the moments when there is not acceptance. Because you'll feel it. And you'll start to realize, wow, is this how I feel most of the time? Is this how I felt most of the time? And I've been through that process, and it was very surprising. And I want to be clear, there are still moments, I'm not in a state of acceptance 100% of the time, but considerably more than I ever have been. And in a state of acceptance, there is no stress. There might be pressure or discomfort, but there's no stress.
Morning.
Morning.
You look like you're fishing.
No stress. There's effort, of course. I still find myself in positions where I have to do things that are out of my comfort zone. But the narrative isn't, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, this is rubbish, this sucks. I just want to go home and be comfortable. It's like, this is uncomfortable in this moment, and I will grow from it. Most of the time. We don't necessarily see the authentic humanness of many of the people around us, because people choose to hide the best of themselves, or they reserve the best of themselves for very specific situations, or they don't tell us about the struggles and the hardships unless they're talking about them as a statement of fact, as if that's the only thing that they ever experience, which of course it's not. Everyone has moments. Everyone has moments and breaks in the clouds. And a large part of my motivation to do this, aside from helping more people just be accepting of themselves and the lives around them and creating better things as a result of that, another part of my motivation for doing this is to help you as a viewer who may not be in communication with a great number of people, seeing as the world now is a lot more isolated than it seems to ever have been. It just helps you remember that there are people out there who can objectively talk about the experience of life without making it into something that just sounds like, oh, my life is so great and I'm so spiritual and I figured everything out, and by the way, you should come and work with me because I've created 5 steps that are going to help you find the most amazing stress-free life. And it's like, it's just bullshit. It's bullshit, right? Be real. Be real with yourself. The goal is not to escape the ups and downs of life. The goal is to recognize the ups and downs of life exist and to allow them to move in their own way. Anyone that says you can be up forever is misleading you. Anyone that suggests to you that you are never going to experience hardship is misleading you. Hardship will come, but you can prepare yourself for it. But also there are so many people out there who are just trying to convince us that the world is a terrible place and everything is falling apart and people are bad and we're all going to be blown up and there's going to be war and famine and poverty and we'll all be out in the streets. And if we hold that worldview, if enough of us hold that worldview, then yeah, we're going to create it. But it's a worldview, it's not absolute. It's just dominant because fear speaks loudly. Always does, always has. Because fear is a survival mechanism. We're animals. We want to be safe. We want to further our species. Life wants to continue moving through us. And so the mind wants to keep us safe. So fear has such a dominant place in our society because we haven't realized it's a part of the experience. It's not the entirety of it. Even in the darkest moments, we all have breaks. Even on the brightest days, we've all felt some sense of sadness. So intuitively, deep down, we all know nothing is permanent, nothing will last forever. We're just told by that voice in there or the voices out there that it will. And if we're told that enough, we'll believe it. So my message may not land immediately, and whether you continue to listen to the things I say or the things that other people say, as long as it's encouraging you to continue looking in the direction of what's good, then you have a very strong chance of being able to experience that. Morning.
Hi there.
And my hope is maybe one day you'll be able to look at this world you live in and you'll be able to recognize that whilst there is dysfunction and there is pain and there is hardship, there is also tremendous amounts of beauty and joy and peace. And you are free to focus on those moments as much as you are the others. So my invitation today is to do just that, however you can. Whether that's a piece of music you love, speaking to someone you love, watching or playing or interacting with something you love, eating something you love, ideally something that doesn't harm you, reading something you love. Because you absolutely deserve that. And if you have any thoughts about any of the things that I've said here, do let me know. Drop them in the comments. Drop me an email. I'll respond to the best of my ability. And also, if it's something that warrants a further explanation or further exploration, then next time I'm out, I'll do just that. But I am listening. So have a wonderful day, wherever you are. I'll speak to you soon.